name is Polycarp Igathe, and I humbly seek your vote to become Governor, Nairobi City County 047 on August 9th, 2022 general election. I am running on Azimio la Umoja ticket in Nairobi City County with my Deputy Governor, Professor
to pay their taxes, to be able to get their permits, to be able to get their licenses, and the challenges. And they brought issues pertaining that most of the traders, they felt there were so many licenses that were required by the county government. And this was a challenge that was throughout our interactions with the people of Nairobi. And so today is another day for us to talk about now that input. And this is the input that we are saying, the Nairobi Tunavyoitaka, meaning this is really what the people want the new government to be able to undertake on their behalf. How would they want to be governed? What services they will be able to require from the county government? And so myself, as the deputy governor candidate, with my governor, Polycarp Igathe, we have taken these matters very seriously so that we can find ways first to be able to deal with the basics for our people here in Nairobi. We have taken this with our experiences. The governor, Polycarp Igathe, has enormous experience dealing with these matters, with the businesses in this country, outside the country, a lot of experience. Myself, equally, we have public service that I've been able to go through and be able to serve our people in this country and outside. And so we are bringing all these experiences so that now we can have one document for us to be able to implement on behalf of our people here in Nairobi. And so the challenges are there, dealing with the environment, as you'll be able to see, and our governor will be able to go through some of these matters very well, and the shortages that we have in various sectors of the economy. And so on Monday, we had some work that we were able to do pertaining to the manifesto. On Wednesday, this week, we were able to release this document to the public. We went through the markets. We were able to have a road show to be able to talk to our people, and we share this document, our plan, which we are calling the manifesto. And so then I want to take this opportunity to welcome our incoming governor, Mr. Polycarp Igathe, and my friend. Let's welcome him. Karibu, Governor.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, Professor Philip Kaloki, and thank you very much for your commitment to the City County of Nairobi. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen from the media. It's a real pleasure to have you this morning. I'm going to read a formal statement as we release this manifesto formally to you, the media. My formal statement is entitled The Nairobi Challenge. Nairobi is the capital of Kenya, heartbeat of the East and Central African region, a unique urban core blessed with vibrant, hardworking, youthful population. The city is endowed with a national park, with a rainforest, with good weather, and with improving infrastructure. The African headquarters for very many multinational corporations, embassies, non-governmental organizations, and indeed the United Nations are based in Nairobi. Nairobi is truly a blessed and eminent city. However, a huge population of Nairobians live in informal settlements and low-income areas. They are underserved and overlooked by government policy and programs over the years. Many Nairobians live in poverty, in hunger, in desperation, and deprived of core essential city services: markets, schools, hospital, clean water, sanitation, garbage collection, recreational space, street lighting, fire engines, ambulances, just to name a few. Nairobi is a tale of two contrasting realities: the wealthy, leafy suburbs versus thirsty, dusty, crowded, low-income areas. This reality can go on no more. Therefore, the national battle that has been called by the incoming president, Raila Amolo Odinga, against poverty, disease, ignorance, and corruption starts here in Nairobi and will either be won or lost here in the city county of Nairobi. The quest for shared prosperity, transformed lives, and livelihoods will be won or lost in Nairobi. That is why the leadership of Nairobi City County matters. Now is the time to write a new story for our beloved Nairobi. Let us write a story inspired by the universal understanding that government is of the people, for the people, and by the people. Nairobi Tunavyoitaka. By embracing new and fresh leadership that brings on inclusivity, hope, prosperity, and spurs confidence in our people. Leadership that is single-mindedly focused to serve, devoted, experienced, competent, and true to the national values of the Republic of Kenya. Nairobians simply demand that city authorities get back to the basics of service delivery. Nairobians deserve leaders who have the ability and willingness and spirit to get a job done. The Nairobi Tunavyoitaka agenda has been developed in conjunction with Nairobians. It champions their cry. In its implementation, the people of Nairobi can be assured of proper provision of essential services. They can be assured of shared prosperity, of a see-through transparent government, of their active participation every day in governance, and a high quality of life in this city. Professor Kaloki and myself and our entire party pledge to establish a Nairobi that is a global hub in Africa for shopping, for logistics, for trade, for industry, for technology, for innovation, for financial services, for investment banking, travel, tourism, sports, arts, theater, culture, and a vibrant urban lifestyle. Fellow citizens, Nairobians, we invite you to be part of this journey, to be drivers in this journey. Be authors of the Nairobi Go and Nairobi Arise story that hopefully begins on the 10th of August 2022 after you have granted us a full mandate. We humbly, with Professor Kaloki, offer ourselves and ask that you vote for us at the general election on Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. Thank you very much for listening to me. God bless Kenya. God bless Nairobi. And of course, God bless all of you members of the fourth estate. Thank you for listening to me. I think after those formal comments, allow me to make the following few remarks. One, it should not be lost as we launch this Nairobi Tunavyoitaka agenda that will make Nairobi rise and Nairobi go. That this city is a city of over 5 million people. And it's a city of 5 million people that only offers 235 nursery school or early childhood development centers for 5 million people. And it has persisted like that over the years. This is a city with 5 million people, but only provides 205 public primary schools. A city of 5 million people whose demand for water far exceeds supply. A city of 5 million people that till today only has 47 public markets that cater to that number of people. A city of 5 million people with 118 public health facilities, 11 technical vocational educational facilities, and a city stuck in a stink of garbage over the years. Nairobi is underserved, and the most underserved people are the people who live in the informal settlements. That's why this manifesto invites all of us to see. We have focused on society, on economy, and the environment. Our daily focus with Professor, together with our team and our political parties, is to deliver essential services focused on the society, the economy, the environment. we invite Nairobians to hold us to account on 5 things as far as society is concerned. That we shall fight hunger and deprivation, provide good healthcare and well-being, enhance social protection and well-being, ensure universal access to quality education. The transition rate from primary to secondary, nursery to secondary. The Nairobian has been left to their own devices. Private schools, which are okay, have taken over the role of an important public good, which is education. And we hope in the next 5 years, together with the national government, we can tackle that together. With a school feeding program, with an enhanced bursary program, we believe we shall enhance access to healthcare, access to education, and indeed fight hunger and deprivation. On the economy, we make pledges in this manifesto about the ease of doing business, least amongst which is a universal, affordable business permit, paying genuine bills that have made a lot of business people suffer from their property being taken by banks because they've been unable to repay their loans, eliminate unnecessary fees and charges, especially for hawkers, for kiosk owners, for mama mbogas, introducing a Wezesha Biashara Credit Guarantee Fund, which will start with 850 million, build 150 new modern markets, provide Wi-Fi hotspots in public spaces and schools. If we can provide smoking places, we can provide Wi-Fi spaces. Surely, every school will have free data from Nairobi City County. Ensure preferential procurement by the county from micro, small, medium enterprises. We eat samosas in our offices. We clean our offices. The services and provided to the city county will be preferentially ordered from MSMEs, micro, small enterprises that are based in Nairobi. And we shall also facilitate market access, exports, and linkages for these MSMEs. Nairobi is the capital city for very many people who consume products and services in Somalia, Ethiopia, Rwanda, Burundi, Congo, Uganda. And those are the linkages we shall mostly provide. We seek to promote the brand Nairobi, the agricultural show, the books, with the Books and Arts and Film Festival, with the Nairobi Marathon and sporting events. We want to design more than a dozen models of hawker kiosk, market stall design, so that when you see a kiosk, the kiosk is truly beautiful. We want to promote city tourism to the world. Take advantage of Kenya Airways and all the airlines that work out of our national airports, JKIA and Wilson Airport. Push the natural assets that we have, attract and lobby for international business conferences, events, and investments, and reclaim and rehabilitate the city sports grounds to support Nairobi sporting leagues. So judge us that we have improved the economy through ease of doing business, promoting Nairobi brand, assuring and creating decent job by employing 100 young people in every ward into the Nairobi Enterprise Apprenticeship Program. Mobility and transport is another area we want to be judged on and held accountable to, but most important is creating an effective, efficient, motivated public service, which we are calling e-government, that is compliant and that enforces. We want to become the first people since the launch of Ugatuzi or devolution to make sure that Nairobi has a good audit opinion from the Auditor General. As you know, Nairobi has always gotten an adverse opinion from the Auditor General all the years of devolution. Professor Kaloki and myself want to establish an organization with the right human resource practices. First of all, by making sure Nairobi City County workers have a commercial bargaining agreement, that they are paid on time, that they have career development, that they work in clean environment, that they are taken care of, and they stop being bashed as the problem in the city. They are not the problem in the city, they are the solution, and that is what our biggest promise of 100 days is, to really work with them in the city water, Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Services, and Nairobi City County, to make sure that they are fit for purpose and they are motivated to deliver services to the residents of the city. And then we want to relaunch and rebrand the City Inspectorate Department so that it's a service provider going forward. Lastly is the environment area, where we ask that we hold us to account on 3 things: on clean water, proper sanitation, and garbage collection. by building new water sources so that we can match the demand of the city. We hope by the time we are done in 5 years, supply to Nairobi will exceed 1 million liters a day from the 500,000 liters a day it is today. We shall connect homes and buildings in high-density zones to sewer lines and incentivize water harvesting, recycling, and solar energy, and ensure timely and effective collection of garbage. We want garbage formula to include frequency of collection, population density, in addition to the weight and distance that is in the formula today for garbage collection. I don't know how many of you know, but garbage payment in Nairobi today is paid on the basis of how heavy the garbage is and the farthest it is from the garbage dump. So that is incentivizing the garbage collector to collect it farthest from Dandora and wait until it's heaviest to take it there. So that's why garbage is never collected in Marikiti, in the markets, in low income and informal settlements. And we want garbage collection to be the work of the residents of the city. Garbage collection is big business, and we want to make sure that we fix the cleanliness of the city that way. Then proper urban planning and zoning and land use. The professional called the urban planner will be at the heart of Nairobi. We are adopting, without saying it, the Nairobi Integrated Urban Master Plan. The Master Plan of Nairobi is something we are coming to execute and bring to life. It has yet been brought to life in an aggregated way. And we want to make sure that not only do we do that, but we launch a Nairobi electronic address. Every plot of land in Nairobi will have an electronic address. And hopefully, by the time we are done, title deeds. Then entrench ward councils and residents association in our government to support zoning and land use regulation. On land, you play, you live, and you work in it. And the people of Nairobi will agree the spaces to live in, the spaces to work in, and the spaces to play in. We want to clean and protect the Nairobi River system and its tributaries to make sure that that is not where we send our sewer, but that is where we clean, so that we can invite those spaces to be green spaces in the city. We want to incentivize renewable energy and then accelerate the construction of affordable housing through proper public participation and regularize buildings without permits and again, once again, issue title deeds. Then we want to enhance safety and security and disaster management, make the city resilient, containing pollution of air, water, noise, increasing fire and ambulance capacity in all wards, creating a disaster preparedness mechanism in every ward, and ensure from the skies Nairobi is lit up. Ensure street lightings, especially in public spaces, schools, markets, informal settlements, places where people go to dukas. We will make sure we do that. On mobility on transport, I should have highlighted that the most important mobility and transport we are focusing on is pedestrianizing the central business district and making sure even in the estates, Nairobians walk a lot more, not only for public health, but we live in a very small city space. Nairobi is only 696 square kilometers. You can literally walk from one end of Nairobi to the other as exercise in a day. And we want to make sure we connect Nairobi through pavements, through walkways, through covered storm drains, because that has been a big ask of the Nairobi Tunavyoitaka. Let me close by saying, Professor Kaloki and myself, and you have heard from the Azimio la Umoja, we have borrowed heavily from the Azimio la Umoja Manifesto that promised a pillar of social protection. And on the pillar of social protection, we are going to create a community chest to make sure we leave no one behind. When you read our manifesto, you'll see something called the Nairobi Foundation. It is a foundation we seek to create a community chest where we provide a framework and a model for philanthropists to help the county deal with people who have been left behind. We have issues of mental health in the city. We have issues of drug addicts in the city. We have issues of street families. We have a responsibility to feed the weakest amongst us. That responsibility will be taken over through our social protection programs, which are a core part of what we do. If people forget what we do, if people forget the real essence of Nairobi Tunavyoitaka, it is to rebalance the equation of a city within a city. We can't have a city where on one side we are flower festooned, treed in, and leafy, and one side of the city that is thirsty, dry, angry, and the other side is wet, green, and hopeful. We need to come together under the theme of Azimio la Umoja, because that's the essence of the political platform that we stand on. Thank you so very much. Happy to take any questions that you may have. Thanks for turning out. And this was essentially for the media. We continue to distribute our manifesto. Take it to the people who gave it to us, in the markets, in the clubs, in the churches, in the social halls, in the traffic, in the places where people live. And thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to extrapolate it to not only Nairobians, but the people of Kenya. Because the people of Kenya are interested in Nairobi, just like Nairobi. Just by building 150 markets, in addition to the 47, what we are pronouncing ourselves is that we shall almost quadruple the demand for food and agriculture that will reverberate across the borders of Kenya. Goats from the northeastern side, tea from the Rift Valley, potatoes from central Kenya, bananas from the eastern side, peas from the lower eastern side. All the things you grow, Nairobi is the heart. This is the true front porch. And I would like to sit down by saying this. The debate is not so much what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. We capture that well here. The contest is about the leader who will get it done. Will you choose the usual, normal, political type, or will you go for the fresh, professional, get it done, get the job done type of politics? Or do you want the usual political, the usual political play? This election is a census between the Nairobians who like politics for politics' sake and Nairobians who like politics for impact's sake. Your vote will be a vote on impact or a vote on politics as usual. The choice will be made on 9th of August, 2022, and I have no doubt we have listened to the Nairobians. They have said Tunavyoitaka, and they want a team, a leadership with integrity, a leadership with competence to get it done. Give us a chance, 5 years. Thank you very much for listening to me. Maybe we can take some questions, and DG and myself can field them. If you want to join me, DG, standing up here, so we can field the questions together. At the back there, ndugu yangu. You can introduce yourself and we can answer you. Thank you.
My name is James from the Standard Newspaper. I have several questions that we go one by one. The first one, where does the issue of street families lie in your manifesto? The street families. And the second one is, what will be your priority in the 100 days in office? And the third one is on mobility and transport, specifically on pedestrians safety. Most of the Nairobi footbridges are not well designed. They're dirty, not lit, and even the pavements have been encroached. What are your plans for that? And number 4 is garbage collection. We have been having an issue with the dollar dumpster. What plans do you have for that? There were plans by KenGen to produce power from it. I think the plan failed. Do you have a plan on how to solve that issue of the dollar dumpster? And maybe finally, how do you plan to deal with hawkers and border minus in the CBD that has caused the city to be a chaotic one? Thank you.
Wanzala, thank you very much from the Standard for capturing those questions. I'll take a couple. I'll start with street families. On street families, under the theme of society, we have pronounced ourselves in the manifesto about a school feeding program. I'll tell you what the link is. The street families that exist today, we intend under the Nairobi Foundation to be able to start providing for them soup kitchens, By soup kitchens, I mean places, public places where they can come, live, and eat. I don't know whether you all remember that is how the Starehe Boys Center started during independence after Operation Jack Scott. It was a place of comfort. And that's why that area is called Starehe. People would go and eat. In those days, society cared. We are going to care for them through providing hot meals for those families through the Nairobi Foundation, which I called the community chest. This is not just a model we have picked with Professor here. We have seen it work in very many cities, like Singapore, like Dallas in Texas, like New York, where people, they actually call them soup kitchens, where people who are homeless find refuge in a place, especially in cold nights, and they're able to be fed. But the most important thing with with the school feeding program, we are able to take a lot of children who are not able to access schools to school. Because what are we doing? We are feeding them at school. And when the parent also allows the child to be in the school for the week, at the end of the week, they also get extra food. And you can see this manifesto speaks to a lot of service delivery that has to be done with the proper revenue collection. So the revenue collection bit is something we'll talk about later. By getting people to school, you reduce the chances of people ending up as street families. That's my point. And we shall also take care of the existing street families by making sure we also have rehabilitation centers that are built through the Nairobi Foundation. Our 100 days in office, I spoke clearly about it to Wanzala by pronouncing ourselves that we truly just want a working, functional teamwork in the Nairobi City County. Make sure the employees of Nairobi City County are motivated. We have a fit-for-purpose organization, and the most important document Professor and I are working on is Executive Order number 1 that will create the structure of government of Nairobi City County. I don't know whether you want to take the issue of mobility and lighting, Prof. Go ahead.
Thank you, our incoming governor. Let me say with the lights, we must have a well-lit city. You know, to transform Nairobi to a world-class city, so that it can be a hub in Africa. That is a determination that we have with our governor here, Polycarp Igathe. And we want to ensure then to do that, if you look at the city and you walk there at night and you visit downtown and you go to where the people live, the estates, the streets are not lit. And we'll be able to work on this within the first 100 days to make sure we can restore lights, and we can be able to install even the new lights within the city so that everybody can get out, and also we deal with the issues of security, and we'll be able to deal with that. I think the governor has talked about how we are going to clean the city. I just want to emphasize, to clean the city, first of all, garbage is business. We can make money out of it. You can get energy, you can have conversions, so that we can have we can get gas and some other essentials from garbage, and our youth and the women can get jobs out of this with the contracts that they'll be able to undertake. And so we are going to clean the city. We are going also to convert Dadora, because it's almost to the full capacity, and we have visited that area, and we are going to begin to look how we deal with this, and we are going to invite companies dealing with garbage within the country and outside, so that we can deal with this once and for all, and how we'll be able to modernize the garbage, our people, and we are going to support them. The county has 30% for the youth and the women, and we should be able now to work with them so that they can be able to access the capital there, so that we can be able to empower them, for them to do decent businesses, and also we empower them to do business. And that goes with our border. We are going to sit down with them so that we can have a plan on how we'll be able to streamline these operations by supporting them to do business. And also, we don't want, again, you know, there are so many in the border because there's no other opportunities for them to be able to encounter and to be able to engage in. And so we want some of them with the capital, some of them to enter to other forms of transport, buses that they can own, trucks that they can own, and so we'll be able to invest some of them so that we can free the city, and we'll be working with the border so that we can be able to support them. Thank you.
On the garbage issue, we have incinerators which are approved by the National Environmental Management Authority that work in our hospitals. We see an opportunity to also create incineration in markets, places for organic waste, and that ash out of that goes into the value chain of food and agriculture. So incineration is a promise that we make that reduces the weight and the height, and it happens a lot in very many cities, and that is part of what we will do. The waste to energy, of course, that is in our plan, but the first priority is to pick the garbage where the garbage is produced. And garbage is equals to population more than anything else. Where people collect garbage in heavily populated area, we shall create specific premiums and high prices so that we incentivize the collector to do so. And garbage collection is a public good. When we privatized it, and so it will be a mix, it will be a PPP, public-private partnership that we're looking for, and make sure that there's adequate equipment and receptacles. Nairobi, we are accused, as we have had with the professors, we've gone round. We were somewhere in Zimmerman where they said, hamwezi kutupatia hata pipa tu tuweke takataka. Mbona mnatuuliza maswali kuhusu kwa sababu there is no, it's only in private buildings where you see mahali ya kutupa takataka. We would like to become the duo that is remembered for having brought back pipas. You know, even a long time we used to talk about pipas, but pipas is an essential part, the receptacle for garbage across the city, in our walkways, in our public spaces. And also building public toilets in public spaces as we give data and toilets in public places so that we can start to clean up the city. Hopefully we've done justice to your question. And the last one is to still remember, we are going to change the look and feel of our hawker stalls, of our market stalls, and our mamamboga stalls. They can no longer sit under gunias and paper bags and look like they are living in a very bad space. We have the whole Juakali industry down here in Gikomba. We are going to challenge them to give us 12 to 24 different designs and models that look like Nairobi, that look like Kenya, that are beautiful, that will be set up, and perhaps the best standard of it is look at the look and feel outside Nairobi Hospital to the right. That is the sort of thing we are talking about. Real, and these models have already been done by Nairobi City County. It's just that they have never been executed. Half our job is to execute plans that exist, not to come and bring new ideas, but to execute all the good plans that actually exist. And that's why for us, our biggest partner, professors, we are saying, is really the work of Nairobi City County. Yeah, thank you. Sure. Maybe we come this way, and then we come to you.
Good morning, Mr. Governor.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Karanja, TV47. My question is, what are you going to do with the creative industry now that we want to rewrite the story about Nairobi Tunavyoitaka? As you know that we have so many content creators across Nairobi, but most of them are struggling with getting equipment, licenses, and I'd like you to address that and probably tell us if in your manifesto, if you've set aside a fund for this creative economy.
Thank you very much. We have pronounced ourselves to promoting brand Nairobi. Arts, culture, music, books, and we've promised that we would like to see a books, arts, theater, culture festival, bigger than what they have in other parts of the land, and a fashion week in Nairobi. That is what we mean by arts and culture. And we would like that to promote African culture especially. That's why we are calling Nairobi the global hub in Africa. And maybe just for your information, I was part of the first directors of Kalasha Film Awards, myself, as an individual. And we celebrate, there's a lot of theater in Nairobi, but we want to lift it, the National Theater. The Koinange Street used to be the heart of theater with Alliance Francais. We would like to see streets like those where we create our own version of Broadway in Westlands, especially in the Nairobi Central Business District, Westlands area and CBD. So we will work with thespians. Our work will be to be facilitators. Remember, Professor and I landed on the theme of Nairobi Tunavyoitaka because we believe in the democratic core and essentials of this city. It is what you want, then my work with him is to deliver it in the most efficient, effective way. So Nairobians have asked that give us theater spaces for theater. One of the biggest celebrated events in Kenya's education is the National Drama Festivals. When you look at where that talent disappears to, we have no idea. Nairobi is going to become a market for thespians, a market for musicians, a market for artists, for authors, and even, hopefully in Central Business District, we will require in the future there to be a piece of art outside all big iconic buildings so that our sculptors can bring to life their art and music. It's right in the heart of Nairobi Tunavyoitaka Manifesto. Thank you for asking that question, because it is a city of young people, and it's a city that will showcase not foreign art, but African, truly authentic Kenyan art. That is why it's our sitting room. Thank you very much.
That's good.
Another question over here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Chris Owino from Ramogi TV. I've got two questions. The first question is on governance. Many people have said that Nairobi, the city hall, is actually the center of graft and corruptions. And you've said that one of your key areas is to ensure that this service delivery. And we know that if corruption is rampant in an area, it will hamper the provision of services to the people. So what's your agenda on the fight against corruption at the city hall? Then secondly, maybe you can just highlight your agenda on healthcare, because we've seen that in the past 9 or 8 years, there have been a lot of wrangles between the counties and the healthcare workers. What's your plan for the healthcare workers of the Nairobi County?
Thank you very much for those two questions. Let me start with corruption. Corruption is a problem. What we capture in the manifesto is the solution. The solution is a digitalized e-government, but also a government and a public service that is motivated. What is motivation? That I get my salary on time, and that my salary, when you make deductions to NHIF, to KRA, to my SACCO, that those deductions get there. That there is a commercial bargaining agreement, a tripartite agreement between the employer and the trade union, because of Nairobi City County. That is a big pain point. That I feel valued, I'm not really considered. We want to become the team that removes the Kanjo mentality from Nairobi. Because we have accepted that our worst are represented in Nairobi City County. I happen to have served for 6 months, and I know how solid and how good professionals sit there. All they require is a good leader to give them oxygen to breathe. By oxygen, I mean create an environment that enables them to serve. Politicians, years past, have never given the opportunity to the urban planner, to the architect, to the engineer, to the plumber, to the carpenter, to the city inspectorate worker to truly deliver their best. Nairobi Tunavyoitaka Manifesto promises to do that. And that's how you fight corruption, through making workers feel valued and important. And that is our 100-day promise. Secondly, we also want to separate the county assembly and the executive. The county assembly provides oversight to Nairobi City County, and the executive delivers, and it's held to account by the city county. If you look over the years, because Nairobi had a mayoral system, and also the proximity of the county assembly to the executive together, but the proximity is not an issue. What is a big issue is that there needs to be a Chinese wall so that the executive is the executive and Parliament of Nairobi is the Parliament of Nairobi, and we separate the two. Lastly, we are also saying with corruption, Nairobi has been a live crime scene for far too long. We know land grabbing, all these things have gone together. With Professor Kaloki, we have a philosophy of drawing the line in the sand. We have had this conversation, even we were having this conversation over breakfast this morning. A line in the sand doctrine means, yaliyopita yamepita. Let us now move forward. Let us agree from 10th of August, Nairobi will start to become a place where corruption does not thrive. How will we do that? We want to speak. We can't put everything in the manifesto, but both of us are true believers in recovery, restitution, and regularization of things. There's a reason why many countries come with truth and justice commissions. Why we look for amnesties, even to people who don't pay tax, we provide tax amnesties. It requires more thinking, it requires better public participation, but we believe with a raft of lawyers that through a philosophy of restitution, recovery, and regularization, we can recover a lot of the assets that have been lost by Nairobi, and we can now move forward. I repeat, Nairobi has been a live crime scene for decades. This is a philosophy they use in the banking industry. When you take over a bank with very many bad loans, you create a bad bank and a good bank, so that the bad bank, where you don't focus too much on the negative energy. We want to bring positive energy to the city of Nairobi. We want to work with people to move forward. But at the same time, the restitution, recovery, and regularization period will be 6 months, and after that, we say that we all move and conform and comply. We bring back law and order to the city, which is what residents want, which is what investors want, which is what our national government wants, and it's also what is the platform of our political leaders, especially Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, who has spoken strongly about corruption. And our integrity, therefore, is also something we bring to the table, and we say it's a great differentiator in terms of the background and where we have come from. So that's corruption. Your second question was on the healthcare delivery. The public health system in Nairobi has been brought together by especially the community health volunteers. We have a force of 7,460 community health volunteers. They don't get paid anything, but they have been the first line of defense to HIV in Nairobi, to mental health cases in Nairobi, to respiratory crisis in Nairobi, and lastly, the last one being COVID-19. We are saying they are a core part of our service. And once we work on because we are working on the revenue model, we are going to employ them. They will no longer be CHVs, they'll be CHWs, community health workers, earning 15,000 shillings. And these people go to every homestead. And they are the first mile of delivery. They drive preventive medicine. They make sure children are immunized. They make sure there's immunization. They help. They're the first port of call. And also, we shall fix the perennial problem between Nairobi County and KEMSA. And that's a revenue thing, making sure we pay for medicines with KEMSA. And then medicines can be available. I've just come from a meeting now. I've just met some people from Gatina. Gatina is in Kawangware, near Kawangware in Dagoretti North. You have a clinic there, 2,000 people go there. You don't find a Panadol. If you go to Landimawe, there's a beautiful city clinic there, run by a beautiful, outstanding health workers. But all they can do is stand there and just clean the office, because there's no Panadol, there's no bandage, there's no elastoplast. Can you imagine? Basic things like those don't exist. And we are saying no more, no more. But the biggest no more has to be felt on the ballot on 9th of August, when Nairobians decide, let's give this job to somebody who can get the job done.
Let me add.
Thank you.
Governor, let me add one thing here pertaining to this question on governance. This is a big issue. We've taken it very well with the incoming governor, Polycarp Igathe. And the issue here is also supervision. If you have garbage somewhere in a street, and the top leadership doesn't get out from the office to go check, that garbage will continue to pile up there. Then the contractor, with the motivations that they have, you cannot blame them, they are going to invoice. And then there's no supervision. Then you go pay that invoice. Now, we are calling here, that's a question of corruption. But I want also to add to the governor's comment here and say we are going to supervise. We will get out from our offices. We will get there. We will make sure the city is clean by us getting out there and our officers below us to get out there and to ensure the service delivery is adhered to. And so that means supervision and also oversight for the projects that we have undertaken and the ones that we are paying for it, so that we can have value for money. And also with the agenda on health, that particular question, we'll also ensure we have ambulances out there to the health centers. And if you look at the manifesto, we are going to have at least one health center per ward that is going to be converted to a 24-hour health facility. And so that will be able to ease some of the challenges facing our people, and when patients get sick, because they can get sick at night, and we want for them to have a facility that they can get even at night. Thank you.
So what Deputy Governor is saying, Professor, is that Nairobi City County health facilities will run 24 hours. That's our pledge. And they'll have medicine, and they'll have workers who are available. And on the issue of governance, perhaps the last thing to clarify is we will not sign invoices in our office of the governor, because this is the office of the governor. Together, we are the office of the governor. If there is takataka in Komorok Estate, Komorok Estate has a resident association. If there is takataka in Marikiti Market, the Marikiti Market has an association and a chairman. That chairman must sign that invoice and say, this month they have collected. It will be part of the three-way matching process of paying a garbage collector. And we are going, and we will do that on digital means, so it will not slow down the invoice preparation. We are going to use crowdsourcing. Today on your phone, you can take a photo of a pothole on the road, and you'll upload it, and it will come to a customer service center using a database. And that database will now be taken as a work ticket to the right department for roads, and we'll expect that done within certain service standards. The water department, the garbage department, the legal department, everybody will have service standards. And that is what politicians don't get. Politics is too important to be left to politicians, especially in Nairobi.
Very well.
My name is Kadina from K24, and Environment, Safety, Security and Disaster Management, you've listed containing pollution, and especially my focus is on noise. In Nairobi, and especially areas where we have larger populations, Stockholm, Roysambu, Pipeline, Umoja, Donholm, there is a trend of cropping up or mushrooming clubs and churches that have become a nuisance to the residents. Probably, what does your government, or rather, in case you, if you voted in, what do you pledge to do probably to bring a solution?
Governor, and this is very clear, and that's a very good question coming up there. With pollution, especially the noise, even at night, where you go to an estate, and you're very right, you find a lot of noise out there, and the clubs at night, even 3 in the morning within the estate. What I can assure you, and this is a matter also we have been able to look as we are preparing this, all those issues came up when we are trying to put the manifesto together. With how Nairobi Tunavyoitaka, as you can see it there. But I want to emphasize here, on that particular issue here, we are going to revert because we don't have to come with the new codes. Those codes are already been established, and they are there with the city bylaws. They are there. And so for us, it's just to enforce that. Where the clubs need to be straightened to get a license, that will be done. And our enforcers will be able to adhere to that. And then it is for us and the governor here, it is for us to be able to oversight that and supervise to make sure that is taken. But the point is to ensure the codes are respected and adhered to.
In addition to adherence of codes and zoning and bringing back urban planning, if you go around all major cities in the world, the center of entertainment and clubs is always the central business district. But if you notice in Nairobi, the most highly invested area per square foot is the least used at night. CBD works 8 to 8. After that, it's quiet. We want to be able to rejuvenate central business district so that people start to come from the neighborhoods and from the suburbs and the estates to come for entertainment in the city. That's where hawkers will be working. So we want to make sure through public participation, when we are in office, that first floor, second floor, third floor of every city building becomes a retail market service, a club, a bar, a restaurant, because that's the safest area. And then people can now start to see the need to be incentivized to come back. We are going to run a government of incentives more than a government of penalties. Of course, a government has to have penalties under the law, but we shall incentivize the right behavior and the right way of being able to contain pollution, especially noise pollution. And the laws of Kenya are clear. You all remember Minister Mishuki with his decibels in the years past. we, like Professor has said and the Deputy Governor, we are just coming to execute what exists, building codes, and also to remove the unnecessary painful ones that don't make sense anymore, together with the County Assembly and together with the people of Nairobi. This government will be truly Tunavyoitaka. It is Tunavyoitaka captures the imagination of the Constitution about the people fully participating in government and in governance.
Very well, very well. Yes?
My question is on the issue of governance. Perhaps Nairobians want to hear from you clearly what would be the position of the NMS post the August force. Because when people look at this manifesto, some of the key components are functions which are currently held by the outfit. So perhaps to be clear to avoid maybe also to be confused because they see you focusing on this when they stay.
Thank you. Let me, and the Governor, I think you dealt with this matter during the debate, which you handled that very well. And it was very clear. But since it is coming up, first, let's say, you know NMS. It came because of certain things that took place during that particular time. This is not a formal way of running the county, and the counties are not run by NMS. And so it came as a caretaker for particular departments, and there was a stipulated timeline pertaining to that. Now, it has elapsed, by the way, and with just a minimal extension, so that now we can convert back to normal operations of a normal county. So this is coming up, and I think the time has already been given, I think by the end of October. So from August, after the election, there will be just a period of about a month or about 5 weeks or so for handover. And that is now the NMS to be able now to hand over to the new elected officials. That means the governor and the deputy that will be coming in. So that those services will be handed over. So as far as we know, with Polycarp Igathe, my governor here, there will be an end to NMS. And I want to make it very clear, none of us here were part of this, and none of us will be able to continue with NMS. NMS, it is that the time period is elapsing, and we are coming in as a governor and deputy governor to take over without NMS. Thank you, Governor.
Let me buttress that point by saying, you know, NMS was a vehicle created by law to actually stop Nairobi City County from getting disbanded. This question was not very adequately interrogated during the debate. Nairobi City County was en route to being disbanded. We were going to have 85 MCAs who did not exist anymore because we had gotten to the end of the road. And the person who quit school did not make it clear on it. We must understand that there is a gap that the national government insisted there is not a single county that will disappear. President Uhuru said there's not a single county that will disappear under his watch. You remember what happened in Makueni and how President Uhuru was the last line of defense with his government to the then governor during his first term, Governor Kibwana. And you saw how the people of Kibwezi sent home all the MCAs who had given Governor Kibwana a hard time. Now, in Nairobi, what happened was, for those of us who stood by principle of our conscience, 2 years we were proven right, and NMS had to come in as a band-aid, as a bandage. So Nairobi City County will continue to exist as a county because Nairobi Metropolitan Services was a bridge. And because it was run by people who are not politicians, we've seen a slight change improvement. 193 dug boreholes, so very many health centers created, walkways, but it is not a permanent feature. Government must be run by the people, for the people, and by the people. And that is why Nairobi Tunavyoitaka. Nairobi Tunavyoitaka has no NMS in it. NMS is in transition. Governor Badi, not Governor Badi, General Badi, General Badi, not there's Governor Kananu. There's still Governor Kananu, and there's General Badi. General Badi is coming in. General Badi is exiting the scene as at the end of October with the Nairobi Metropolitan Services. So our assumption of office tools will be from two institutions, from Her Excellency Governor Kananu and from General Badi. Yeah, sorry for confusing the words. Thank you.
Very well. Yes, sir.
For the second one, NMS, what can you rate their performance for the time that it has been there? And two or three questions. One is on PSBs and buildings being PWDs friendly. How do you plan to do this considering that the buildings are already up? And also on PSBs, how do you plan to do it? And second question is about the public spaces. How do you plan to bring them back? And finally, is the issue of beggars lands in Nairobi.
I think Governor, you can go first.
Yes.
I can take it up.
Thank you very much, Professor Kaloki. We have to follow the building code. The building codes of Nairobi have largely been ignored, and we will work very closely with the Architectural Association of Kenya, AAK, which is the umbrella body for engineers, for architects, for planners, to help us as an input into it. And that is why I talked about regularization. Where somebody has not met the regular, we are going to give them a time period to come back to the law. So there'll be a system of regularization. It's not just buildings, it's also public transport. Public transport must enable people with disability to be able, lazima mtu ambaye ako kwa wheelchair aweze kuabiri gari na kushuka. And that's why some of us, as we have campaigned, have been riding on matatus to understand and get the feedback from the people. So we will do that through regularization. There'll be a raft of requirement for you to regularize. And as we issue title deeds, we'll expect you to do the regularization. And on the PSVs, public service vehicles, there are only four types of public vehicles. There is the matatu, the boda boda, the Uber and taxi, and perhaps somebody, and the cyclist, and somebody walking. We want to be able to make CBD a pick and drop zone largely, but discourage private cars from coming into CBD, which creates a lot of business for matatus, Ubers, taxis, boda. So they'll be the ones bringing people, picking and dropping them within CBD. But this has an element of very solid public participation. If you go to the south of Tom Mboya, we cannot decant the whole of Kenya in River Road, Jogoo Road, Kirinyaga Road. We will need to move these out of the CBD areas, and with Railway City that has started, with Green Park, with Landis area, with the waterfront bus stop, we are looking at specific pick and drop zones, and especially the boda. The dignity of the boda rider is going to be made by making sure the boda rider has a clear pick and drop. Taxis have a clear pick and drop, plus Ubers, and that is how all cities in the world work. And discourage through incentive or incentivize that it's public transport that gets priority into CBD more than private transport. We make transport democratic, essentially. Thank you very much. Maybe you can take the other one.
Thank you, Governor Polycarp Igathe. Let me also say, also with the PWDs, with the drainage, we'll be able to ensure, and actually that it is already in our manifesto there as a plan, we'll be able to cover them. Also to ensure we'll be able to find a friendlier way for this particular segment of our society to be able to access roads and so forth. And also the way the walkways will be designed will ensure it is also friendly with the codes, as the governor is putting it up here. Those building codes will also going to ensure where the cases and where our property in the city, either within the CBD or outside, with all the sub-counties within the county, will ensure all that is reverted back to the county government as our property. And that's why the registry is very important for us to be able to monitor that and to ensure our assets are well kept and are monitored and well kept. And so we'll be able to keep up with that. Governor?
Yep. Every school, every health center, every public facility will have a title deed. And that's why we spoke about an electronic address of every piece of land in Nairobi. Digital mapping through GIS, geographical information systems, to make sure we have title deeds for every public property. And if you have encroached on public property, if you have grabbed public property, the first invitation from our government is for you, is to recover from you. And we will create a systemic way of being able to recover. And that is the line in the sand doctrine. But we will recover public land, we will protect public land going forward. We make a promise and a pledge that under our leadership, that is when the beginning of the end for land grabbing in Nairobi will be. Thank you. Okay. Let's not. Okay. So walkways and cycling lanes. In fact, Kenya requires more cement factories. Granted, the work we are going to do with pavements and walkways across the city and cycling ways. So the cyclist and the pedestrian will be the most important prioritized unit of person in our transport policy. The pedestrian and the cyclist. And then the matatu, the bus, the taxi, the Uber. The PSVs will have a priority in that way. The people who have choked Nairobi with traffic is private cars. But why people are not using private cars because they want to? Is because the public transport system has collapsed also. So we have to lift up one so that we decant people from private cars to public transport. If you know today, and maybe it's not known to a lot of people, there is 12,000 Nairobians who come from the estates using the train to Central Business District. There are very many people who leave their cars in Syokimau, in Kahawa West, in Makadara. Today, we have 12,000 Nairobians. We are hoping by the time we are done, the mandate you're going to give us for 5 years, that number can even be 120,000 people coming to the city through the railway, because there'll be a commuter railway system across Nairobi, crisscrossing through the metropolitan area. And it's a connection between Githurai, Roiro to Limuru, and then we have achieved a loop line of a commuter rail in Nairobi. And that is in the Nairobi Integrated Urban Master Plan. That there is an Embakasi Village Railway all the way to Ruai. That there is a railway from Rirota Satellite going down to the Kajiado side, into Rongai, into Kiserian, going forward. And that is the heart of what we want to do. These issues cannot be delivered by somebody who only talks. These issues cannot be delivered by two individuals who only want to play politics every day. And that's why our constitution decided the governor is an executive, right? Nairobians have a choice to get a talker into office or to get a worker into office. And that choice is being made on 9th of August, and we are very glad it's going to be made for Igathe Kaloki. Thank you. You have one last one?
Yes,
Okay,
one
go ahead.
last one.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no.
think
Go ahead, Professor, sorry.
I think Governor is bringing this issue. Is this Beggars Menace?
Oh, beggars. Oh,
Okay,
go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yes, it's an issue, and the Governor is going to add. Yes, we have an issue. We have our street families. Let me call them that way. They're also trying to make a living with the best they know. And it will be our responsibility to take it up through our Department of Social Services and in liaison, because we have to liaison this we have to work with the national government. And so we come with a plan so that we can be able to take care of them with a decent place where we can be able to move them. But now you have to understand this. There's also motivations to be able to accelerate this from other communities. And so we have to ensure that we deal with it in a way. We also take a responsibility as parents, and so that's what I'm saying is it is a responsibility that is going to fall in one way within the county government and also with the national government sitting together so that we can deal with it. Also by putting together some other development partners to come in so that we can deal with the issue. But the issue is there, but I can assure you with the governor here, we'll be able to take it up. But Governor, you can add.
Sure. But first of all, let's say begging is because of poverty. And poverty is a reality in Nairobi. Nairobi is the county that pays in taxes, investors in Nairobi, the manufacturer, the large enterprise, the medium enterprise, the small enterprise, the salaried people of Nairobi, they contribute 60% of the 2.2 trillion which was collected by Kenya Revenue Authority. Nairobi, from the Council of Revenue Allocation, only gets 5% of what the 370 billion that goes to the counties gets. So there's an issue of underfunding Nairobi even from the central government. Then there's the issue of Nairobi not generating revenue from its own sources because of poor service delivery. As a consequence, there are too many poor people and the beggar menace comes up. That's where I'm landing at. But we also have to protect Kenya and Nairobi from commercial beggars who come from Tanzania and who come from neighboring country. When I say commercial, that is deviance. We are going to handle the deviant side, but for the beggar side, you have seen the work we are promising to do with social protection, which is a big safety net. It's a long-term measure to stop, to help lift people out of poverty and therefore stop the beggars. I will not call it so much a menace, but we are going to be a government that finally says we care. We know there is poverty. And children, and the other thing in addition to beggars is child labor in Nairobi. The children who come to sell jigu karanga in the traffic because their parents can't afford a meal. And that's why the school feeding program we are talking about. And that's why we celebrate being part of Azimio la Umoja that is talking about Baba Care for the health side and the 6,000 that will go to the household. So we are really addressing the problem at the source, not the symptom at location. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how are you going to address the issue of goodwill, noting that young traders are not able to raise some crazy amount that the owners, the property owners normally ask. For instance, for someone to get a shop downtown, you have to offer about 2 to 3 million. Yet you are a young trader and you can't raise that amount of money. How are you going to address that?
Thank you very much for that question. We have pronounced ourselves and made a pledge to institute Wezesha Biashara Fund. Wezesha Biashara Fund, we have spoken to it in our manifesto. It is a fund that then enables young people who have formed themselves into a cooperative, ama chama cha ushirika, because the cooperatives department is a devolved function. So we will put a lot of oxygen of cash flow into these organized groups of people to be able to access loans where they don't need collateral. It's basically cash flow. So they look at how much business, maybe you're doing an exhibition, you're importing and selling. The retail and wholesale trade is going to be the heart of Nairobi, and manufacturing. 2 core things. And lastly, we shall grow the leg of tourism and shopping, because Nairobi is about retail and wholesale trade. So we have pronounced ourselves on Wezesha Biashara, which is a credit guarantee fund, and we shall work with other partners. I just came back from the banking industry, and I understand very well how to enable cooperatives, especially of women and young people, through training and then credit, giving them credit on collateral-free basis to be able to do that business. So that they are able, we lower the entry barrier, which is what you're saying. There's a very high entry barrier to doing business. And that's one thing we are going to work with on that side. And also lowering the price of a single universal business permit. We are going to be referees in the game of business without kupiga firimbi kila dakika 5. Serikali itaondolea mfanyi biashara acheze ball. Na ndiye ajifanikishe, ajiwezeshe, ajiendeleshe. Asante.
Just to be specific here and to add from the governor, about 850 million each year. 850, we have already put it in our plan for promotion of our young entrepreneurs coming up, and also for them to get that access at the county with a 30% protection by the law for them to be able to access procurement businesses taking place to deliver services within the city. They'll be part of the delivery system that we have.
We want overall, if you look at the Nairobi Tunavyoitaka, to create an operating environment for business where demand aggregates, quadruples, and multiplies by almost 100 times. When demand grows, demand grows as a consequence of consumption. Consumption is a consequence of household income. Household income drives consumer credit. So we have gone to the demand side of things, not the supply side of things. If you look at our thematic base, is to actually say trigger consumption, then invite investment, double it up with government spending, and then GDP will grow. Mapato, watu, and jobs will then be achieved. Then we will create a city that is really a demand driver of food and agriculture, of industry and commerce across the country. Thank you very much for listening to us. Right? Thank you. Thank you very much for your questions, and it's fantastic to see Kenya discuss issues in the political era as we have done this morning. Thank you. We remove the mics aside? Okay.
You want us to...
Hapo. All right.
Haya. Gavana shika moja pande hiyo. Na mimi nishika pande hii. Tunaangalia kule
We move to the center.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Haya. This way. Haya. Tunaambiwa.
Professor, na utuambia tutawaangusha. Hatutawasahau. Those two words have been used by all Kenyans we have met.
Yes.
Na tukisema Nairobi mnasema tunavyoitaka mkipiga picha. Nairobi
tunavyoitaka.
Our work is to deliver that. Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana, the fourth estate. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Excellent. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Good piece of teamwork. Thank you.
My name is Polycarp Igathe, and I humbly seek your vote to become Governor, Nairobi City County 047 on August 9th, 2022 general election. I am running on Azimio la Umoja ticket in Nairobi City County with my Deputy Governor, Professor Philip Kaloki. We humbly seek to become your servants, to make Nairobi great, to transform the city, make it our beautiful home, make it our beautiful workplace.
Atalinda kina mama, madawa tutapata. Barabara atajenga, basari tutapata. Masoko atajenga, biashara tutafanya. Ajira tutapata, maisha imarike.
Vote for us on the Azimio la Umoja ticket on August 9th, 2022.